In the previous episodes of the 1998 Marin Bear Valley SE restoration, we purchased the bike off Marketplace for just £20, assessed its condition. It's pretty much ruined, but it had some nice components, and the White Industries chain set sells more than £20 anyhow, so we already covered our costs. The frame paint was ruined, the bottom bracket was thoroughly stuck in the frame, and general condition was awful and rusty. We spent an age sanding the paint off of the frame to get to a raw steel finish. We then applied Built Amber Hydrate 80 to the raw steel frame to create a rust-proof barrier. We pressed in a cheapo but sealed Brand X headset and applied some retro style decals to the frame. So this is the status of the bike as we left it last episode. It's painted decals and I've put the fork and stem on there just to hold it all together for now. So yeah, let's get on with the build and start by putting some tyres on the wheels. I'm reusing the WTB wheels that came with the bike, and I'm fitting the Tan Wall Billy Bonkers tyres. These work great off-road for sort of light gravel work. As long as it's not too muddy, they're great. Cassette, we're going to go with the Shimano Dior M4100 in 1142. 10-speed cassette, it's all steel, super durable, pretty affordable, it'll be good. I applied a liberal coating of grease to the free hub body and placed the cassette onto it. Because this is an 8-speed free hub body, it'll work with a 10-speed cassette. I then placed the wheels into the frame. I was a little concerned about tyre clearance. These are the 2.1 Billy Bonkers, which cleared fine in the end. I think the 2.25s would be too fat for the frame, but yeah, we got adequate clearance for a normal modern style 2.1 in this frame, no problems at all. And the sort of tan wall and the black really works well together, I think. For the initial build, I'm going to go for this race face turbine stem. It's 60mm long. At a guess, some rough guesstimate, I'm going to need between a 60 and 90 stem, taking some rough measurements. So yeah, this will do for now, and it kind of matches the aesthetic. The bars I've gone for are these Ritchie Venture Max model. I went for it for a few reasons. This is a gravel specific bar, so it's 46cm wide, and with a 12-degree flare at the drops, and quite a shallow drop distance as well. Also, I think the sort of polished aluminium look really sets off the look of the bike. This black silver look we're going to go for. So yeah, I think it looks really pretty sweet actually, to be fair. With the bars lightly secured into the stem, I just wanted to make sure that they're angled correctly for what I like. I like to have a dead horizontal top surface of the bars. That just works for me, and with these Venture Max bars I think it works with the flare. I wouldn't be super keen on having the sort of base, the lower of the drops horizontal with the floor. I don't think it works quite well, but yeah, that's how I'm going to set them up. If you got an opinion, let me know in the comments, because there's lots of opinions with drop bars. I find lots of different people have different ways of setting them up, using the sort of the drop sections horizontal to the floor. I don't know what is the best way. I've got a few road bikes, but I tend to find if the top section's horizontal to the floor, it's quite comfortable. Let's get a bottom bracket installed next. Apply liberal grease to the BB shell and make sure these threads are well looked after, and hopefully the bottom bracket won't get stuck in again for the next person that owns this bike or whoever takes it out in many years time. So yeah, bottom bracket installed. I'm going to go for these 105 chain set that came off of the CAD free build, so I'll link that up there if you've not seen it. It's a good cool hill climb build. But yeah, I'm going to use this square taper road chain set on this sort of bike. It's a gravel build, so I feel like we could use a road chain set. I think if I were to use it like this, there's not enough clearance on the bottom bracket for those chain rings. So let's change that and swap out this double for a narrow wide single chain ring. The chain ring I'm going to use is this 44 tooth narrow wide chainring from Race Space. I really like these, I rate them quite well. I went for a 44, which is a bit larger than I normally would, because with the 26-inch rear wheel we've got a sort of slightly smaller diameter, so I wanted to up the gearing of the bike slightly. Normally I like a 40 or 42 for my sort of gravel or all-road build, so yeah, we're going to go for this. One thing I did notice with this, I needed to flip the chainring around to the sort of subtle side, because the counter bores didn't work with the new chainring bolts I bought for it. They're a little too long to fit comfortably, and this is me. I like to Loctite my my chainring bolts in place, because I've had them fall out before and make a right mess of the frame where they've sort of backed themselves out and start rubbing against the chainstay. So yeah, I recommend Loctiting chainring bolts in place. So just Loctite them, torque them down, and they're set for good. And to be fair, I think this looks pretty sweet with the black chainring bolts. Actually, it kind of really works quite well. It kind of looks retro and classic. Yeah, I like it. It's a good idea to use a light smear of grease on square taper BBs when using an aluminium chain set. This prevents any galvanic corrosion in future and help you get the cranks off. I'm just going to use a normal 8mm bolt in crank bolt in these things, nothing fancy like a self-extracting system. Also, I think the black kind of tidies it up and makes it look pretty neat, so it's another thing to add to the slightly subtle list of this bike. It all looks pretty good. Onto the non-drive side now, and that bolts up fine. Yeah, it just goes on, and again we're using a normal sort of style bolt there, but this is where we have a problem. I noticed that the clearance of the crank to the chainstay there was a bit tight when I was just installing it. I thought it'd be okay, but check this out. To cut a long story short, yeah, we've got a problem with the spindle length of the square taper BB compared to the taper of the crank, which is causing a clash with the chainstay. This is kind of why I don't like square taper bottom brackets, but it's also their advantage because we can just install a square taper bottom bracket which has a longer spindle. So let's take out the bottom bracket once again. So after rummaging through my spare parts supply of used bottom brackets, I found this UN71 bottom bracket, which is actually in way better condition anyhow and spins really smoothly. So we're going to use this, which is about a 5mm longer spindle. So yeah, let's get that installed. Also, you'll notice I'm using my emergency bottom bracket tool here because I loaned out my other one to my friend. So G-Dog, if you're watching this, I need my bottom bracket tool back for my next project, please, thank you. And with that new UN71 longer spindle bottom bracket installed, everything spins perfectly. Actually, it spins amazingly well, to be fair. I think I'm used to Holotech and dodgy bikes, but this one spins great. Moving on to the controls next, and I'm going to be fitting the Shimano ST5700s. These are 10-speed shifters that came out in, 2010, 2011, so pretty old now. But I think I've worked out a hack for a derailleur which will work with them for a 1x system, so keep watching. So the problem with using these shifters is until recently there was no wide range derailleurs compatible with them to make a 1x system. You'd have to use road derailleurs or old up to 9-speed mountain bike derailleurs from the mid-noughties. So a relative recent release is this Acera M3020 rear derailleur, 7 8-speed system, and works up to 42 max rear cog. Got 42 at the moment, I think it'll work. But what should work is 7 and 8 speed systems have the same pull ratio as 9 speed systems, and that shares the same ratio as road 10 speed. So I think in theory, if it gets confusing, this should actually work with our system. So I bought it at risk because I haven't seen anybody else do this before. I saw Russ at Pathless pedal, put it with a downtube shifter, and I thought, that's pretty interesting, and noticed it was 7/8 speed, and sort of did the ratio calculations and just background Shimano knowledge. thought, actually this might work with some sort of older 10-speed drop bar shifters. So yeah, I bought it at risk because this isn't guaranteed. It's not a particularly expensive derailleur. I think it's around £30, so there's no clutch or anything fancy. It's just a wide range, bog standard type derailleur, and let's see if it works. One thing I'm aware of is I'm obviously running a 42 cassette, so I want to really put the B tension onto the derailleur as much as possible to make sure it clears the largest cog in the cassette. Before we can try it out and install a chain, I've been experimenting with immersion waxing chains recently. So this is a freshly brand new chain. It's a SRAM chain actually. I just generally prefer SRAM chains. But this has been waxed, and yeah, it's all a bit tight around the links, and I've knocked the camera over. So yeah, there's a quick link install. With 114 links, it's only just long enough, I think. Ideally I might find an extra 2 links from somewhere. It feels a little bit tight in the 44 and obviously 44, the 42 tooth largest cassette. It looks a bit maybe too stretched out, right on the borderline. If it was full suspension, I'd definitely be adding links in it. It'll do for now. It functions, and the top jockey wheel, most importantly, is not rubbing against the 42 tooth cassette. I won't bore you filming cabling up the bike this time round, but yeah, let's find out if this works. So yeah, there you have it. It's a hack and a half. Yeah, if you've got some old 10-speed road shifters that aren't a Tiagra 4700 for ratio reasons, you could make a 1x system now using this Acera rear mech and not have to muck around with derailleur extenders or anything like that. It's a good option if you're into that and building a budget bike, and yeah, I think it should work pretty good. Onto the brakes next, and I'm going to be installing the Shimano Dior V-brakes. They're relatively new ones. Not new to the bike, but they're new model. Yeah, nothing fancy or crazy here, just standard black Dior V-brakes, which suit the build really well, I think. So yeah, let's get these installed. So yeah, that's the V-brakes installed, and actually I'm really surprised how good they feel at the lever. I was expecting to feel a bit mushy with the caliper lever, but actually they feel really snappy and responsive. One thing I have noticed is where I've sort of put the built handle on the frame, the cable ferrules aren't fully inserted themselves into the frame. So I expect I'm going to have to adjust this in the future, where the ferrules pull themselves into the cable stops. And yeah, the whole angle of the V-brake there, it looks all pretty sweet to me, I think. Pretty happy with that. I had to change it to a 135-degree rear noodle, which is generally a front noodle, but it's cabled up pretty sweetly, I think. So onto bar tape next. I sort of cabled up the bike and put some electrical tape around it. I didn't want to film the cabling for this bike particularly because it's quite boring. And there was no tips I wanted to share this time around, so look at my other videos if you want cabling tips. So yeah, just electrical tape them in place, and yeah, putting the bar tape on. I think I did a figure of 8 in the end. I did adjust how I was going to do the bar tape. I was just going to do a normal wraparound, but I figured out I have enough spare bar tape on these wide bars that I could do a figure of 8 around the controls. So I did that. I'm no expert at bar tape installation, and every roadie seems to have an opinion of how it should be installed, so yeah, whatever, I don't care. As long as it looks neat and symmetrical, both sides, it works for me. I think figure 8 is probably the best if you got the bar tape long enough to make it work, if I was to offer my 2p opinion. But yeah, we're just using this cheap Lifeline textured bar tape. I think it was like £7.99 or something like that. Nothing fancy or special, but yeah, it's pretty good, suits the build nicely. So one last thing to do with the bar tape is bash the end plugs into the ends of the bar. So yeah, fold the bar tape in and just give them a bash with a rubber mallet. This is the best way to do it. It almost sounds a bit more violent than what it is, I feel. For the pedals, I'm going to be reusing some of these Shimano single-sided sort of touring spec ones. I think they come off the Rockhopper build, so they've been in my collection for a little bit. Waiting for a project, and I think they suit the bike quite well and give you options if you want to pop to the shops in just some trainers or flat shoes. So yeah, I'm going to install these for this build. I think they suit the build quite well. I didn't do a great job of framing the camera just there, but yeah, installed with no problems. Yeah, expect them to do fine. Moving on to the last piece of the build now, and it's the saddle. I'm going to be using this charge spoon. I picked a few of these up on sale from Treads, I believe. I think they're £12.99, which is a bargain. So I think I picked 3 of them up in different colours and formats. So yeah, I'm going to go for this sort of full black and perforated one for this bike, because it looks pretty cool. Yeah, that's the last bit. So yeah, we'll get this installed, and yeah, let's go outside and stare at it, shall we? So yeah, here it is. Let me know what you think. I think it looks ridiculously good for a £20 bike. Okay, I've sank about maybe £100–120 in parts and reused a bunch of parts, so it's not exactly costed up for £20. But yeah, I'm really happy with the way it looks. It rides really good. Surprisingly good, to be fair. I think I'm going to go for a slightly longer stem. I think I'm going to go for a 90. I'm going to have to find one out my spare parts box. It steers really well, it handles pretty good. It's just a little short for me as it is, in the sort of tops position. The brakes are phenomenal. I was really worried that the brakes would be mushy, but they're not. They're really snappy, and the power is absolutely insane. Like, by far the most snatchy, grabby, powerful brakes I've got on any bike at the moment. So that's just kind of good. I just have to modulate my fingers a bit to not like jump on the brakes. I'm really happy with the way it's turned out. I'm sorry I haven't filmed in any more exotic locations. It's absolutely horrible here over in England this time of year. It's been raining for like a month non-stop, and this was a brief opportunity last weekend when I got a chance to get out and film the finished bike. It got absolutely covered in mud when I sort of went down right away. So yeah, I'm really happy with it, and I hope you enjoyed following along on this series. We're not quite finished with this bike yet. There's another update I want to do to it to add to the spice, so look out for that in a few weeks. In the meantime, whilst I've been building this, I've been building the second bike, Saracen, for my nephew, so that will be the next video coming up shortly. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one. Stay tuned for the next one, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Cheers.